Welcome back. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for the afternoon, Mr. Ramzy Khoury, our Jordanian journalist. Mr. Ramzy, it's a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Angie.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramzy, for your time as usual. And let me start by discussing with you some of the latest developments with regards to the situation in southern Lebanon. A person was killed, 3 wounded in an Israeli airstrike on a village in South Lebanon. And again, the United Nations peacekeeping force in Lebanon is voicing concern over the escalating violence. How do you see this development and, the continued breaking of agreement after agreement after agreement by the Israelis?
Well, the Israelis haven't stopped any breaching of the ceasefire agreement in Lebanon since for the past 3 months.
Yes.
Today, for the first time, some party, definitely not Hezbollah, fired 5 rockets towards Israel, apparently 3 of which actually fell in the Lebanese areas. These are very, very basic rockets that were fired, so it is very clear that this is not the doing of a major military group. Must be something that is more amateurish. But Israel used this in order to bombard Lebanon. The bombardment is still ongoing, Angie. But then again, Israel has not ceased its aggression for the past 3 months. So what Israel is doing today is pretty much in line with what Israel was doing since the ceasefire agreement. And as you know, Angie, Israel was supposed to be moving out of Lebanese territories. Israel decided to stay in 5 areas in the south of Lebanon with the blessings of the United States of America. And this in itself is an instigator for the Lebanese to try to resist occupation.
Indeed. Now, Mr. Ramzy, I just want to move back to the situation in the Gaza Strip. Again, another breaching of the ceasefire agreement, and we're seeing, quite a dire situation. We're seeing lots of casualties, continued strikes on the Gaza Strip by the Israelis over the last 24 hours. Over 130 Palestinians were killed and 263 wounded. And Israel has resumed bombing and ground operations in the Gaza Strip. How do you see this escalation, Mr. Ramzy, and what are your expectations for any sort of return to the ceasefire agreement?
Theoretically, the ceasefire agreement from the Palestinian side is still ongoing, and this is basically what Hamas and the other resistant groups have been saying, that they are sticking to it and it needs to be implemented. But then what we have is two dangers here. Danger number 1 is obviously the Israelis are attacking the civilians. The Israelis are not attacking Hamas. When they went back into their latest aggression, which has caused over 600 Palestinian civilians dead, the Israelis are attacking the tents where the displaced are trying to survive this winter, and they're killing them inside of their tents. And and Israel is voicing that they are attacking the civilians because this is the only way they can put pressure on Hamas and the Palestinian resistance groups. So basically, Israel is admitting that they are committing a war crime on purpose, intentionally. And the second danger is that when the ceasefire agreement was reached, it was guaranteed by the United States of America.
Yes.
And then the United States of America reneged on its guarantee. So basically, why is that dangerous, Angie? It's very dangerous because if a ceasefire between 2 parties is reached in an agreement that has international guarantees, especially the guarantee of the United States of America,
yes,
and then the guarantor reneges on it, then that means that any agreement that is reached in the future can be reneged on. And therefore, these agreements have absolutely no guarantees to continue. And the value drops dramatically, as you said. And at the end of the day, this constitutes a dilemma right now. So if we can't trust the United States of America's guarantees, then what kind of guarantees can we trust? Now, why is Netanyahu doing this? Because he managed, through the attacks on civilians and going back to war, he managed to solidify his government. He is no longer in danger of losing his government before he actually passes his budget, or after. And he is buying time, which may even allow him to manage all of the court procedures against him, for corruption, etc. And so basically what he did is he solidified his right-wing government. Ben-Gvir is back into the government and his ministers, and now basically he can actually act as if he does not care about what he describes as hostages, the prisoners of war who remain in the hands of the Palestinians, because the continuation of war could actually kill them as well. It's not just killing Palestinian civilians. It could actually kill the Israelis who are in Gaza right now. And the families of these Israelis understand this very well. This is why they're going out to the streets. But this government does not care about them or about their kids.
Mr. Ramzy, I just want to ask you about, the international community's response. I mean, we're seeing calls, for example, today the governments of Germany, France and Britain called for an immediate return to the ceasefire in Gaza in a joint statement, and they called as well on Israel specifically to restore humanitarian aid access, which means, of course, that they are aware that humanitarian aid access has been blocked and denied, and the situation on the ground is extremely dire. How do you see the international community's response in light of these developments?
They raised their tone of voice. They did, and they came out with stronger statements, both on the aid and the resumption of the aggression on Gaza. But it means nothing to Netanyahu, because as far as Netanyahu is concerned as a government, he is not going to pay any price for all of the war crimes that he's committing, for as long as the United States of America is supporting him and is giving him the green light to do it. He would not have even dared resume the war without a green light from the Trump administration. Everybody knows this, including the Europeans. What the Europeans are doing by making these statements, knowing very well that Netanyahu is not going to listen and he is not going to stop, and the aid is not going to resume, even if they make such statements, they're doing this for their own internal purposes, because their own people are asking questions about the role of their governments in all of this. I'll give you an example, Angie. The British government, for example, that has been voicing its very strong statements regarding what Israel is doing,
yes,
and actually pointing the finger at Israel in all of this, because they understand, they know, and they've declared that it was Israel who breached the ceasefire agreement. Even they came out and said they have absolutely no intention to stop selling arms to Israel. So if you know that Israel is committing war crimes, and you're supporting Israel with military weapons that can be used in war crimes, and you're not willing to stop that, then you are a partner in war crimes. So they're making all of these statements, Angie, in order to appease their own people who are getting really agitated with all of this. And if we were going to do a poll in Europe today, we will find that the majority of Europeans are pro-Palestinians today.
right,
They understand what Israel is doing, what Israel has done. They are totally against genocide, and they understand that this racist campaign of trying to ethnically cleanse Gaza is for the purpose of big corporations making even more money. And at the end of the day, all of this has become public information. And this is very embarrassing for these governments. So these governments are making, they're voicing stronger positions right now, but they're not taking action on the ground. And this is why Israel doesn't care. Whatever they want out of Britain, let's say, they will get out of Britain, despite the fact that the British are making these statements.
Absolutely. And Mr. Ramzy, also we've seen statements by Hamas on Saturday. They've already accused the United States of distorting the truth, by saying that the Palestinian group has chosen war with Israel by their refusal of releasing hostages, even though there were reports that earlier Hamas was reviewing the U.S. proposal to restore, the Gaza ceasefire. How do you see this specific role of the United States with regards to the escalation?
Well, the Witkoff proposal, the so-called Witkoff proposal,
Yes.
is a non-starter. He is basically saying release hostages in return for hostages, prisoners of war against prisoners of war, but without any commitment to stopping the war or a permanent ceasefire or any action that would actually end this carnage that is going on inside of Gaza. So if Hamas was to give up all of the prisoners of war in chunks based on the Witkoff proposal, then Hamas will absolutely have nothing to negotiate with in the future. And therefore, the only way that Hamas can actually go ahead and conduct all of the release of prisoners and they're willing to do it in one chunk if there is an end to the carnage. So it has to actually lead to a permanent ceasefire. It has to lead to the withdrawal of Israeli troops out of Gaza altogether. All of the items that were reached in terms of agreement in 3 phases at the time, before Israel reneged on all of this and resumed the war. What Hamas was willing to consider is, okay, maybe a few, they would release a few prisoners of war and take, just in order to appease the Americans, if there is any guarantee that this would actually lead to the 2nd phase or the 3rd phase or maybe the closure of the whole deal with the full delivery of prisoners from both sides and an end to the war. So they were willing to humor this in order to appease the Americans, but that immediately Israel started war. Israel doesn't want this. What Netanyahu really needs is to just prolong this whole affair and to take it into where it has become pretty safe for him as a government and his government to be stable and out of danger.
Right. Indeed. I'm afraid I'm going to have to wrap it up here. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Mr. Ramzy Khoury, our Jordanian journalist and our guest for the afternoon. Thank you so much, sir, for all your time and your insight. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of today's edition of Arab Affairs. My name is Angie Meher. Thank you for watching.